Renato Amoroso is only 5 years old. But even at such a young age, upon seeing Malena for the first time, who is almost twice his age, he falls head over heels in love with her. Hi, my name is Roxy. Today I am going to tell you about the movie Malena. June 1940. Benito Mussolini has just declared war on France, and little Renato is but his first bicycle by his parents. Jumping on the iron horse, the boy rides to a group of older boys, begging them to accept him into their team. One of them signals Malena as approach. Everyone settles down, waiting for the girl to pass them. Jumping on their bikes, the boys overtake Malena and sit down in her path again to gawk at the girl. Malena is unusually beautiful, and just the mere sight of her makes Renato frantic. At night, the boy cannot sleep. In his head, images of Malena. In the morning, a gang of boys measure their genitals. One of them tells the story that once, skipping classes, he passed by Malena's house and the girl asked him to go for cigarettes. Her robe accidentally fell open, with nothing underneath at all. The guy blames himself for just taking off, as he thinks it was a hint from Malena. For the first time, Renato decides to skip school. Getting on his bicycle, the boy heads to Malena's house, settling in front of it. The door opens and Malena appears on the porch, asking Renato to go get cigarettes. Holding out money to him, the girl drops the coins on the ground. But these were only Renato's dreams. The boy steals his father's suit and takes it to a tailor to have it altered to fit Renato. When the boy arrives home, he receives from his father, who found out that Renato skipped classes and stole his suit. The boy is ashamed to walk around in short shorts, for which he is constantly laughed at by his friends. Renato's father promises that as soon as the day comes when someone breaks Mussolini's head, he will buy the boy pants. At night, Renato escapes through the window of his room. Reaching Malena's house, the boy climbs a tree whose branches grow against the walls of the girl's house. Through the hole, he watches Malena, who is lying on the bed listening to the news on the radio because the girl's husband has gone to war. The next day, Renato again peeks at Malena, returning here, and at night, after putting on a record, the girl begins to dance, taking her husband's picture and holding it against her, imagining that Nino is now by her side. In the morning, Renato goes to the store, where he buys exactly the same record. Before going to bed, the boy turns on the record, beginning to imagine that Malena enters his room. He gently touches the girl and then undresses her. A gang of horny young men are waiting for the girl to stare at her again. Renato, under the pretext that he has to go, leaves the boys and goes into town to follow Malena. Walking along the main street, the girl attracts the eyes of others. Continuing to follow Malena, Renato learns that the girl is visiting someone else's apartment. After school, the boy meets Malena again in the central square. The locals whisper about the girl, believing her to be a courtesan. Having gained strength, Renato decides to walk towards Malena, but the girl does not pay any attention to him. After following her, Renato finds out that Malena comes to the same apartment again. Deciding to figure out who the girl is visiting, Renato climbs the gate, discovering that Malena is visiting her deaf father, a Latin teacher, much to the boy's delight. At night, Renato studies with Malena, though without the girl herself. The creaking of the springs keeps his father awake, who shouts at the boy that he will soon go blind from it. In the morning at the general exercise, Renato learns from his friends the news that Malena's husband was killed in the war. There is a meeting in the central square, where the news is announced to all the inhabitants, expressing sympathy for Malena. Renato goes to Malena's father's apartment. Climbing up to the balcony, the boy notices a girl who lies on the bed and mourns the death of her husband. Entering the room, Renato sits down next to Malena and kisses her on the lips, after which he promises to be always near the girl. After Nino's funeral, rumors about Malena begin to spread around the city. Standing up for her, Renato does harm to those who spread them. When he arrives at Malena's house, he steals the girl's underwear, which is drying after washing. Having thoroughly oiled the springs on the bed, Renato has sex with Malena all night, but the girl knows nothing about it. In the morning, Renato's father enters his room and finds a woman's underwear on the happy boy's face. For this, the man punishes his son by locking him in his room and boarding up the window. After a few days of hunger strike, a doctor arrives at Renato's house. After listening to the boy, he recommends that Renato be let outside, as the boy needs fresh air. After riding his bike to Malena's house, Renato discovers strange behavior of men in the town. They have begun to play mating games for Malena's heart. At school, during Latin class, the teacher, Malena's father, receives an anonymous letter stating that his daughter is sleeping with the whole town. At night, Renato rushes to the girl's house, where Malena spends time with a military officer. The letter insists on another meeting, because 10 months have passed since the funeral of Malena's husband. While leaving the girl's house, the officer meets a local dentist who is on his way to Malena's house to ask for a match. Between them there is a fight for the girl's heart, which Renato observes. The fight is stopped by the dentist's wife, who slaps her husband and accuses Malena of debauchery. In the morning, rumors are already creeping throughout the city that the girl has two lovers at once. Coming to her father, Malena cannot enter the apartment, as the men change the locks on the doors, not wanting to see his daughter because of that anonymous note. Malena is about to be tried for her affair with the dentist, which caused the doctor's family to break up. For her defense, the girl turns to a lawyer. When asked by the judge if the dentist spent evenings with Malena, the girl says that they met once, which causes a gasp in the courtroom. But according to Malena, the dentist had been visiting her for no more than 5 minutes, because he was only bringing medicine for her deaf father. As for the lieutenant, with whom Malena met, the officer was transferred to Albania because of his relationship with the girl, and before that he was interrogated, where he said that their meetings with Malena were only friendly and nothing immoral took place at these meetings. In his statement, the lawyer says that Malena's only fault is that she is beautiful. Because of this, everyone is jealous of her, spreading gossip behind her back. At night, Renato goes to the observation post again. Celebrating justice, the lawyer dances with Malena, after which he starts hitting on the girl. Malena holds out money to him, but he throws it away, saying that his services are worth much more, begging the girl to marry him, pulling off her clothes. Renato doesn't get a chance to finish, as the tree the boy was standing on breaks. After that, Malena stops appearing on the street altogether. There are rumors in town that Malena is preparing to marry a lawyer, and the boy does not understand how she agreed, because this hog never washes and stinks worse than a pig. The lawyer goes to his mother to get her blessing to marry Malena, but the woman chases him away, not wanting this lecherous woman to bear the surname of the lawyer's father. The time comes when Renato is finally bought pants. After following the girl, Renato discovers that she is dating a local man who brings food to Malena, since no one in town sells her food or employs her. For a bag of flour and bread, the man wants to be paid in kind. For an enemy air raid forces everyone to hide from the bombardment. The body of Malena's father is pulled out of the rubble of the destroyed house. After the funeral, Renato goes to watch the girl again. At night, a car pulls up to her house. Someone from the locals brings Malena cigarettes and coffee, for which the girl gives herself to him. The man promises to come every Tuesday, for which Malena asks him not to forget to bring groceries. In the morning, a girl appears in the central square. She has cut off her long hair and dyed it brown, making her even more beautiful. She sits down at a table and takes out a cigarette, immediately gathering the men around her, who hold out a light. Renato imagines him saving Malena from these natives. After some more time, the boy notices Malena in the company of German officers. Imagining the girl serving the Wehrmacht officers, Renato faints. The boy's mother believes that Renato is possessed by a demon, so she invites exorcists to drive the spirit away. But the boy's father is sure that Renato is just growing up and needs a woman. The man takes Renato to a brothel, where all the girls remind him of Malena. Among them, he notices one single girl who immediately attracts his attention. At the sound of explosions, the boy becomes a man. In the central square of the city, the allies are welcomed. The women decide to take revenge on Malena. They drag her to the square and beat her, after which they cut off the hair on her head. After abusing Malena, they chase the girl away. After following her, Renato finds out that Malena is leaving the town. Some time later, Nino, Malena's husband, who supposedly died in the war, arrives in town. Nino lost an arm and then was taken prisoner. Now back in town, the officer can't find his wife and no one can tell him what happened, and their house is occupied by refugees. Climbing a familiar tree, Renato drops a letter to Nino, telling her that Malena has been faithful to him all along. A lot has happened in her life, but all this time Nino was thought to be dead. According to Renato, the girl went to Messina, that's all he knows. Taking the train, Nino goes after her. Exactly 1 year passes. In the city boils a measured life. All the inhabitants freeze when they see Malena and her husband Nino in the central square. The girl Renato does not understand why everyone is staring at Malena. The girl shows up at the local market. The women who beat her a year ago decide to talk to her by saying hello. Malena says hello back. At that moment, the women offer to buy vegetables at a good discount, and someone even gives Malena a jacket, offering to pay her when she has money. Renato appears, starting to follow the girl again. Malena heads towards the house, but drops her bag, from which fruit spills out. Running up to her, Renato helps her to collect everything in the bag, after which he wishes Malena happiness. This is the end of the movie. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel and give me a like to motivate me to make more videos for you.